Janki ji, you're on mute.
Oops, sorry. Okay, so we were doing the chapter on strength of emotion. Anybody has any questions on what we have done so far? As we have all agreed so far, any questions should be taken up in the beginning of the class. And then once the class starts, we won't go backwards. So anyone has any questions on what we have done so far? Last chance. We have to do charity today. So let's just do a quick look, take a quick look on what we have done so far. We did the difference between love and attachment. Love is what makes relationships work. Attachment is what makes relationships break down. Now, very many of us cannot make this distinction about what is love and what is attachment, but it is in making that distinction that we know the difference between what's a good relationship and what's not. These dysfunctional relationships are the result of attachment. Dysfunctional relationships means relationships that are actually on. You are in a relationship with somebody, but that is providing no satisfaction to either of the two parties. Or let's not put it like that. Let's say that it is providing incomplete satisfaction to the parties involved. Because since the relationship is there, that means some needs are being taken care of. So therefore, the relationship is currently continuing, but there's not going to be any satisfaction out of it because it's dysfunctional. We're not able to relate to that properly. So the first thing we studied was the difference between love and attachment. This is so important to understand. And the reason it becomes more important is because nobody understands that this is needed to be understood. That is the killer in this thing. Maybe understanding the difference between love and attachment is difficult, but the real killer is nobody thinks it ought to be understood. Like suppose we say that we should learn about charity or kindness. People will say yes, we must be charitable, we must be kind. Okay, let's understand how this is done better. But in love and attachment, the fantastic thing is nobody even thinks that that it should be done. So that's a killer. Now you can't do anything about that, right? It's easy enough to explain a concept, or well, it's easy or difficult to explain a concept, but to tell why you should learn that concept, that's impossible. So at least for those of us who are studying Vedanta must understand that this is one of the critical things to understand. It seems to us like love, attachment, ek hi baat hai. No. On that is actually dependent our entire emotional life. So we have to, whether we like it or not, get that through to our heads. Okay, so that's the first thing we studied. Then we went on to studying what is kindness. Kindness is the feeling of benevolence, of gentleness towards everybody. People have unfortunately taken this to mean an act of kindness. That means not only are you feeling benevolent, the act you're doing is actually very gentle, very sweet, very loving. Now, this is only somewhat applicable because real kindness means you're able to do what the person needs. In some cases, it may be harsh words. So, in spite of the fact that you don't wish to be harsh, you may have to be harsh because that's what that situation requires. That comes under kindness. That is not being harsh. That is kind because your feelings continue to be benevolent and you continue to want the welfare of that situation. So this is an important distinction we should make because most spiritual people, they are like, they turn out to be very passively good. हम तो कुछ बुरा बोलते नहीं, हम तो kuch pura karte nahi. Life can't work like that. Vedanta is a practical subject. We have an army not because we are a bad lot. We have an army because the leaders have to take care of our defense, right? It's just saying that you have an army, you're going to fight. That's horrible. It's a very wrong thing. I mean, look at what happened to our country because our army was not given the um, maybe the due respect that it should have been given. So army means all the forces. Now, so don't misunderstand acts of kindness with thoughts of kindness. Thoughts of kindness are irrevocable. It has to be done. Acts of kindness are context based, situation based. This is the important difference for us to understand in kindness. Then we went on to this feeling of pity. Pity is a negative emotion that comes to us colored as a positive emotion. Positive in the sense we say, oh, hi, bichara, so bad for him. I feel so sad for him, and all this kind of stuff. This is a negative emotion. It pulls us down and it pulls that person down. It gives us a feeling of superiority. Like, I'm somewhere up here and poor that person who's down there. These are negative emotions. Pity is an egoistical emotion, though many people seem to think that that's a good thing to have. Pity is insulting to the receiver and degrading to the giver. So this is not something we should encourage in ourselves. We don't feel bad for others or ourselves, even self-pity. We don't feel sorry for anybody, others or ourselves, because we understand that this world works on the law of causation. Jaisi karni, vaisi bharni. Whatever you have done, you will get the consequences of. If you don't want these consequences, please change what you're doing. When you change what you're doing, you will rid yourself of these consequences. So it is extremely important in our life, to clearly understand this thing that I can only get according to what I have done. Yes, Galaxy. I can't hear you. Your volume. You're muted.
Yeah, ma'am, this is Leena. Okay, I have a question.
Sorry, I didn't catch your
Leena,
name. Lena.
Leena. Yes.
Lena. Go ahead, Lena.
Uh, Ma'am, regarding this pity, I want to ask you something. Suppose there's a boy who is selling agarbattis on the road. Okay, I purchase it from him, and let us say the cost of it is 40 rupees. I pay him 50 rupees. Okay, what Parthasarthi many times has told us, that you give more. Okay, in the lectures, what we have heard, there's nothing wrong in giving more than what is required. Suppose if I give him 50 rupees and I tell him to keep that 50 rupees, it's okay, don't give me that 10 rupees. Now that boy is touched, he's happy that he's getting 10 rupees more. Okay, but even the self-esteem is hurting, means he feels okay, I'm having pity on him, that's why I'm giving him, or he's in the needing position, that's why I'm giving him that 10 rupees more.
Well, if you think that that's how he looks at it, then don't give the 10 rupees. That's a decision you have to take based on the person you're dealing with.
So am I not hurting him? I've already
It's
given. I told him, you keep it. Okay. After that, the many times you see the look on their faces, they want that. They need that 10 rupees extra. Okay. It's obvious. But then even if their self-esteem hurts somewhere. This is what I feel. So in such cases, should you give or not give?
no. I'm taking your data. If you feel that their self-esteem is being hurt by that, don't give it. When he's saying give means the benevolent attitude. Like one poor person is selling on the street something and we try to bargain with them, especially when it doesn't matter to us, it's like, it's so pathetic. So giving is an attitude. In this case, if you say that it hurt his self-esteem because I gave it, then your duty is not to give it. I'm taking your data. You're saying it hurts his self-esteem, therefore I'm
Okay.
saying don't. If you think so, don't do it.
Okay. Thank you.
Giving is the attitude of being benevolent to others, wanting their welfare, wanting their happiness. That's the attitude. Then our intellect has to come into the picture to decide whether what I'm about to do is actually in their welfare or not. That is for my intellect to decide. So pity doesn't really come into this thing. You're not giving out of pity, you're not giving out of a sense of hi bichara, usko de do. Then it's a negative thing. But you want his well being, therefore you're giving. It's a very different.
Thank you.
So, understanding carefully that we can only get what we have put in effort for. जैसी करनी वैसे भरनी. What does Kabira say? बोया पेड़ करनी किया तो क्यों किया तो क्यों पछताए. बोया पेड़ बबूल का आम कहाँ से खाए. करनी किया तो क्यों किया. Why did you do the karni? Why did you do that action? करनी किया तो क्यों किया तो क्यों पछताया. Now, if you have done it, what are you crying for? बोया पेड़ बबूल का. You planted a babul tree. आम कहाँ से खाए. How do you expect to eat an aam? Can't be done. What are you crying for? Can't be done. You planted a babul, you get a babul. You wanted aam, you should have planted aam. Why did you plant the babul? So once this much is clear in our head, then there is no question of pity either for others or for towards ourselves. If you want a different result, do a different action. Now, let us say that somebody has done something stupid and they have got the negative result of their action, and now they have come to you weeping and crying. So should we take the stance that your karma bhugat lo? Then that would violate the principle of kindness. Yes, certainly it is their karma and therefore they are getting that thing. But we don't have to take the stance that, oh, look. You don't have to go to the other extreme and say, oh, you're a horrible person. You did these horrible things and therefore this horrible thing is happening to you. You don't have to do that. This is where kindness comes in. We're not looking down on anyone because they made mistakes. We all make mistakes. It's part of our life. But we are not pitying them either because we know that this is the just result of what they have done. So we have to know this balance between these two things. Sham Punwani says, is pity opposite to compassion? Uh, yes, pity, I don't know whether you can say opposite of compassion, but it's certainly different to compassion. Pity is when we put ourselves on a higher pedestal and look down on somebody. Like I'm up here and you're down there. I'm a rich person, hi bichara, he's so poor. Or I am a healthy person, hi bichara, so unhealthy, he's so sick. So pity is when I'm on a higher pedestal and I'm looking down. I'm so knowledgeable and I'm looking down on you because you're so ignorant, how silly. So when I have this difference of level, then that is called pity. Compassion means somebody is suffering and I'm feeling their pain. That is compassion. So compassion is assumed quality. Okay, so
So,
somebody is in pain.
so,
I am feeling the pain.
so compassion is positive and pity is negative. Can we say that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's what we've done so far. Now let us get on with charity. Who is going to read? Who's volunteering to read?
Janki ji, I'll read.
Please go ahead.
A charitable disposition enriches life. You are rich by what you give. The only right you can claim in this world is to give. You may give wealth or service, feeling or knowledge. The spirit of giving provides you with the happiness you seek in the world. Nevertheless, you blunder in seeking happiness through asking, taking. Prayer and worship has been reduced to licensed beggary. People all over the world pray for success or progress, wealth or health, property or progeny. Their list of desires and demands is endless. They do not realize the futility of such prayer. No sooner the spirit of asking, taking enters you, it destroys whatever little peace and happiness you possess. You are unaware that your self is supreme. The kingdom of heaven lies within you. You are a monarch, no beggar. You need not ask for anything. You have everything. You have only to realize that. You then develop the spirit of charity to share, to give. So
So for
here,
all those who are joining us for the first time, the class members read a paragraph and summarize it so that we can be sure that everybody has got the gist of what has been said in the paragraph. And then we take to the explanation. Yeah, Brenda, please
yes. So here
summarize.
he says that we should not be beggars. We have the kingdom of, we have everything within us. So life is to give, not to take.
So the only right you have in this world is to give. Now, what can you give? You can give money, you can give wealth. When you say you can give money, it means money and everything money can buy. You can actually give a person cash, a check, or whatever. Or you can send him a present. Or he's having a party in his house and you send a dish. Even though you're not invited, you send a dish so that he and his guests are comfortable with that thing. All this comes under the giving of wealth. And of course, dish prepared by your cook or you bought the dish. So all of these are giving of wealth. A higher form of giving is the giving of service. This is the second thing we can do, where we actually engage our own bodies into giving something. That means it was your friend's party, so you actually made a dish and took it there and gave it to him, and also helped him set up the house and all that, so that his party is a success. Nothing absolutely to do with you. You weren't even going for that party. Okay, so now you've given service, means you've engaged your body in doing something. Many of the volunteers, I'm sure you all know that the reason this thing all works is because of all the work the volunteers are putting in. I mean, they put for years and years without anyone knowing, really. They have been putting in years of work. All the students get together and do whatever they're doing. Amazing service they're all putting in. They put their time, their effort, their energy. This is service. This class happens because somebody is taking care of it, right? We are all blissfully aware of what happens in the background, but there are many people who are working on this thing. So here it is that they're putting in their service, they are putting in their effort. This is a higher form. Then higher than that is the giving of emotions and knowledge. When you give emotions, when you give knowledge for the welfare, for the benefit of others, it's a higher form of service. Why is it a higher form of service? Is because the benefit you provide to others is way more. So when you give, it's a common thing that they say, right? Um, um, Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach him fishing, you feed him for a lifetime. So when you give somebody something like knowledge, what you're doing is you are helping them, benefiting them for their lifetime. And not only their lifetime, maybe other people's lifetimes too. So everybody who has benefited from one thought of the great masters, one thought of Buddha, or one thought of Christ, or one thought of any great master, one thought, what has happened? Not only has that person's life improved, not only has that person's life benefited, but because of that person, all the people that he or she came in contact with were all benefited with that. Like little bit of maturity we grow, with Vedanta, little maturity we get. Not only are we ourselves benefited, but everybody we come into contact will be benefited. So that's the power of knowledge. And of course, the highest form of giving is the giving of the self. The giving of the self means that's only an enlightened soul can do, right? Giving of the self. So they say the highest form of service really is to go to your room and study. Because when you reach enlightenment and you can give enlightenment, it will be the highest form of service. So we can do various forms of service, right? We can do physical, we can do material, money and everything money can buy. We can do physical, that means put in our own service. We can do emotional, intellectual, that means we share emotions, we share knowledge. And the highest form of service really is giving of the self, which really means our own self study. So, this is what we can do. However, we believe, unfortunately, that our happiness lies in receiving things. You have to think this thing through, okay? Reshma says, could you please elaborate on emotional sharing? Emotional sharing is giving emotional solace. Like some people, they have, what should I say? There are people with terminal illnesses. So some people just go and spend time with them because these people are in some nursing home somewhere. Nobody's there to care for them or anything. So they've been put in palliative care maybe, or not that there's nobody to care, maybe they don't know how to care, so they're being put in that. And so some people just go spend time with them, spend emotions with them. When you talk to older people, it could be a form of emotional sharing, just being able to share emotions, to be able to give emotions, to be able to give our love, all that comes under emotional sharing. Sometimes people just want to vent. You give them a ear for a little while. That's emotional sharing. Just being available for people emotionally. Is that okay, Reshma? Okay. So instead of being these great givers Falguni. Falguni says when we give, someone has to receive. So how can everyone only give and share? Falguni, sometimes receipt is also giving. Just as it gives us pleasure to give, it gives others pleasure to give. So when we are willing to take the offering the other person has made gracefully and nicely, it becomes a form of giving. So yes, everybody can become givers in that manner. However, Falguni, I'm sorry, but there's no such danger of everybody becoming givers. There'll be plenty of takers, even if all of us do choose to be givers, because it's not easy. And none of us are realized souls. So we will at all times, all of us will at some times be a giver, and sometimes because of the helplessness of our personalities, have to be takers, because we will long, we will crave, we will want. That time somebody gives it to us, we can only be grateful. So everyone can be a giver. Okay, Falguni. Um, but instead of understanding that all joy, all happiness, all bliss lies in this dance of being a giver, we become takers. We become such bad takers that even when we come to spiritual life, all we are concerned with is what am I going to get. Um, People join the academy, and usually not the student themselves, because then they wouldn't be joining the academy, but parents and relations will come and say, what will the child get? Will you get a degree? Will you get a job? Will you get this? Will you get that? um, Such a wrong way of looking at it. We go to college also feeling that what will I get out of it? What will I get? What will I get? What will I get? We've ruined our lives with this thought. We just don't seem to get it that my life is enriched not by taking but by giving. Unfortunately, I have to take because that's the way the structure is. I will have to take. But I cannot emphasize that aspect. I have to be always ready to open out my heart and my arms in this in giving, in charity, because that's where everything is available. And the beautiful part about Vedanta is it gives us such a holistically balanced life, and we choose not to take it. If you do all this, if you do live a life of giving, you can just forget about being agitated. Just won't be. Just, just you can just forget what sorrow means. It's that simple. It's the Maha Mantra. Just be a giver, and you'll never experience sorrow. You'll have ever enlarging ripples of joy. But no, we choose to be beggars. We go to God also and we say, ye do, wo do, give me this, give me that, give me this, give me that. I want this, I want that. All the time, what can I get? And then we say, why am I so unhappy? It's so horrible living in this world. There's so much stress in today's world. If anybody tells you there is stress in today's world, examine that person's life. It will be a life of demands because there is no stress in the world at all. COVID or no COVID, nothing. There's no stress. The only stress is my demands. Aren't these great concepts for us to understand? You may not be able to straight away digest them, but please do think about it. Is there any stress other than my demands? And if I didn't have demands, if I was just available for service, if I was just available for doing whatever I can do uh, so that people can have some benefit out of it, how can I be a miserable person? How is that even possible? What fear, what stress, what depression, what agitation can I possibly go through? So that's what he's saying. That the moment the spirit of taking enters, whatever little peace and happiness you take, it destroys. We can even see that now. See it for yourself. Whenever, whenever that thought comes, let me get something, the agitation starts. Let me get this from that person. Agitation starts. Practice. See for yourself what happens. Take the agitation, work backwards, see from where is this agitation coming. Understand these concepts. They make up our life. He says, you don't need to ask for anything from anybody because after all, you are the monarch. Who are you asking what from? That's the wonderful symbolism of Krishna. I don't know if you've seen the image of Balakrishna where he is seen, he's showing sucking his own toe. So that's a little strange. Why is he sucking his own toe? It's a childish act, right? So there's a symbolism in it. It is told to us in that manner to explain a philosophic concept. Krishna is the almighty reality. The world is reality, right? So we are that reality. The world that we are contacting is also reality. It's the same, there's no difference. And yet, we choose to derive pleasure out of it, like a baby sucks his own toe. We ourselves are enjoying ourselves, as it were, because we are reality. The world is reality. So, who is seeking whom to enjoy? Once the futility of that comes into our mind, we will be ready to be of service whenever we can. Surendra, are you trying to say something? Okay, so here is a story. Who volunteers to read the next paragraph?
Yes, Janki ji, I will read.
Please do.
There is a story of a sage who lived in total contentment, peace, and bliss. Two gestures sum up his life. He gave, he forgave. He was a picture of selflessness. With no like or dislike, no desire or expectation. Lord Shiva and consort Parvati, pleased with the sage's devotion, descended upon the earth to bless him. The good man was then mending his torn clothes. He, pro- he prostrated to the divine visitors. Shiva offered him a boon to ask for anything he needed. The sage spoke with devotion. My lord, you have provided me with everything. There is nothing I lack that I may ask thee. Ironically, he had no possession and was living on alms. Upon Parvati's insistence, Shiva pressed him to choose a boon. The sage felt helpless. His eyes fell upon the clothes he was stitching. He brightened up and asked, my request is that the thread should follow the needle. It's a very beautiful paragraph, and it reiterates the need that we have everything and we should be content with what we have. And I think that's the summary of this paragraph.
Yes, except that it is not that we should be content, it is that
We are.
we would be content
If we give and forgive.
if we give and forgive. Very good.
Forgive.
Yes, wonderful. So that means giving at the physical and subtle body levels. We just live a life of giving. And once we live a life of giving, guess what happens? What is the state that these great people go through? If you had to put that state in one word, that word would be helplessness. If you ask him, what can I give you to make you more happy? He's helpless. He doesn't know what to say. What am I going to ask? Once you have lived a life of service, you are helpless to ask for anything further. Just absolutely helpless. You're already completely happy. What can you ask? So look at what this poor gentleman had to ask. Now God himself is asking, please tell me something. I will give it to you. Whatever you ask, I will give it to you. Now, he's so helpless. He's saying, because God has said, ask me for something. So he can't say, no, I don't want anything. So he's like, what shall I ask? Okay, let the thread follow the needle. In other words, I really don't know what to ask for. Like total helplessness. There are so many stories like that in the scriptures. There's another one where a man is doing, he's in the Shamshan Bhumi, and there is, the ganas, Shiva's ganas come and disturb him or whatever, fight they create. And then Parvati realizes that, Kali realizes that, her people have unnecessarily troubled the good man. So she comes to him and she says, I'm very sorry about how my people have treated you. I'm so sorry. Please ask me for a boon. He says, I don't want anything. And then she says, no, I have to make up for this. You ask me for a boon. So he doesn't know what to do. So he's looking around. Then he sees, on his leg, there is elephantitis. Elephantitis, where it's an illness, disease, where the leg becomes like an elephant's leg, it swells up. So, so he looks and he sees, oh, his leg is swollen up like that. So his left leg was all swollen up with disease. So he tells the mother, Mata Kali, please grant me this boon, that this elephantitis on my left leg, please could you shift it to my right leg? So helpless to ask for anything. anything. Can't even ask him to cure me. Because really his happiness is so totally independent of this. Doesn't know what he's going to get by achieving any of this. So when we live a life of giving, of forgiving, that means a life where our whole life is nothing but an expression of service, then we feel helpless to ask for anything because the contentment in our heart is so high. So when the contentment in my heart is not that high, I have to go back and reassess where are my demands, where are my demands, and then I need to decide what I want to do about those demands. See, if you have demands, don't pretend them away. Then we're not here to be hypocrites. If we have demands, we should be able to fulfill those demands of ours. But we must realize where the agitation is coming from. Okay, who is willing to read the next paragraph?
I'll I'll read Janki ji.
Go ahead,
Priyanka, Hari
Priyanka.
Om.
Hari Om.
This is an example of the lives of enlightened souls. The scriptures have many such episodes which display their total helplessness when it comes to asking, receiving. They live a life of absolute fulfillment, desiring nothing, expecting nothing, try to emulate their outstanding stature, realize that nothing in the world can provide you with the peace and happiness, and learn the art of giving. Take the position of a giver. You become a personification of joy and happiness. Practice this in the marketplace, in the street, at work, at home, everywhere. Be you governor or governed, employer or employee, husband or wife, parent or child. You should occupy the position of a bestower, never a petitioner. Think and act in the best interest of the other person. Live life with the attitude of après vous, after you. You then become the nucleus of happiness. That is the law. Follow this law, and the complexion of the world changes. There is then purity, beauty, and joy in life. So, following the beautiful story, it gives us the moral, this paragraph, and which is narrowing down to again be a giver. And it is then that you will uh, enjoy life in terms of being completely at ease with yourself. I mean, there'll be no helplessness. So if you want a life of absolute fulfillment, give. Desire nothing, expect nothing.
Yes. Very good advice, Priyanka. Desire nothing, expect nothing. That's right. If you can desire nothing, expect nothing, then you would be a totally content person. However, we can't do that. So we must be careful about that part. To the best of our ability, we must become givers. In your relationship with your husband, your wife, how can you give? How can you serve? What is it that they want from us? Why do we always have to superimpose our wishes on others? What is it you want? Why can't we ask the question, what is it you want? And see whether you can in any way provide that thing. Some things you will be able to provide, some things you won't be able to provide. But why can't you ask the question, what is it you would like? And be happy for that person's happiness. So all the time we are concerned with other people's happiness. And that's the way to find contentment within you. So that's all the time. That means whether you're at work, whether you are at home, whether you have gone to the club, whether anything. Why is it that we don't want to know what other people want? Why is it that we are only concerned with what we want? Of course, we want things. We all want things. And just as I want whatever I want, you want whatever you want. Why is your wanting not equivalent in my mind to my wanting? Why is my wanting more important than your wanting? So why is it that we can't be as charitable to other people's desires as we are towards our own? So in any situation, whether I'm the employer or the employee, whether I'm the master or the slave, whether I'm the husband or the wife, the parent or the child, the student or the teacher. Why is it that I can't consider other people before I consider myself? That doesn't mean we neglect ourselves. That's not certainly not what it means. And many women interpret that to mean, oh, I have to work so hard for the family. Where do I have time to exercise? That's a wrong interpretation of this. Exercise is part of the service, because if your body doesn't work, how on earth are you going to do anybody any service? You will be demanding service in a little while if you're not looking after your body. So you have to do that. Say, oh no, I'm too busy serving everybody. I have no time to eat. I have no time to exercise. I have no time to rest. Then you're doing it wrong. Life has to be holistically seen, not, oh, I'm going mad trying to serve everybody and I'm dying. Not like that. We are, all of us who are involved in Vedanta, we are playing a marathon. This is not a short race. We are all going to be together, hopefully, on this path for the rest of our lives. This is not a short race. This is a marathon. We are in for the long haul. All of us, we are in for the long haul. So we have to do a certain amount of maintenance activity, whether it is your health or it's your wealth or it is anything. Maintenance activity has to be done on a daily basis. Because if you wish to serve, then when you're 80, do you still wish to serve? If your answer is yes, your body better be working, which means today you have to take care of your body. But why are you taking care of it? Not because you want to become Miss Universe, not because you want everyone to say how wonderful you look, but because you know that I want to be of service to the last day of my life. I will go without hanging my boots up. I will go with my boots on till the last day. I will be doing whatever I can do to be of service. I will not be demanding service from others, which I will be if my body is not working. So we have to look at it holistically. We have to understand the whole thing. If I'm not looking after my finances, one day will come a time where somebody will have to look after my finances, right? No, I have to do it right now, take care of it in whatever way I deem best. Because I'm here for the long haul. I'm not here for 2 days. It's not like I have to serve for 2 days and then I'm done the rest of my life. So that's why it becomes a holistic thing. You have to do the whole story. Of course, the other thing is we cannot sort of do the whole story and make our whole life perfect tomorrow. So we choose one thing. And in Vedanta, the first thing you choose to do to make your life okay is, tell me somebody. Is what?
Self-study.
Self-study.
Self-study. Wonderful. That's your first step. So once you get the thinking correct, then everything else will start falling into place. You will realize that, oh, I need to take care of my body. Oh, I need to take care of my finances. Oh, I need to take care of other people. All that will come slowly to us as our intellect develops. We can't do everything together. So pick any one thing you want to do. Be on top of that. Then pick another thing, and another thing, and another thing. And that's how you find that life gets better and better. Anybody who's been with Vedanta over a period of time, see, there's no shortcuts here. But anyone who's been at it for a period of time, I defy him to not be much better off. It's impossible. If you've done it, you will get the results. But please understand, this is a long haul. It is not a 1 or 2 day story. It is not like, okay, once a week we'll attend class. If that itself is difficult, then very good. Attending once a week is good, because then that becomes your first step. But remember that in the back of our mind, this is a long journey that we have undertaken to live holistic, full lives ourselves, as well as be of whatever assistance possible if anybody asks for it. Okay? So if we live our life properly, the whole lot properly, who can deny you contentment? Who can deny you cheer? Who can deny you a perfectly fulfilling life? Can't be done. So, what do? Practice that art. Aprevu, after you. Pehle aap. Do this. And you'll find the ripples of joy growing. Okay, any questions so far?
Yes.
Bharat.
So since we can't emulate these great souls because of the pressure of desires, So, is there such a thing as intelligent taking, where at least the awareness of taking being wrong is there and it serves as a important stepping stone?
You should not look upon taking as being wrong. There is no such thing. There's no such thing that taking is wrong. It is the attitude of taking which is wrong. The attitude of demanding, craving, longing, wishing, hoping, thinking if I only get this, then I'm going to be happy. No, not at all. Frankly, we can't live without taking. Am I not taking an oxygen as I speak to you? How do I talk to you if I don't take an oxygen? How do I talk to you if I don't eat food? How do I talk to you if I don't take the clothes prepared by others? I have to take. This is part of my life. It's part of the human condition. We are all givers, we are all takers. It's all going on simultaneously. We can't live without each other. There's nothing wrong in taking. And there's nothing particularly wrong in the physical, particularly great in the physical act of giving. But there is something great in that constant attitude of service that we may have, the constant attitude of what service can I be, rather than the constant attitude of what can I take. For instance, you meet somebody. First attitude is, acha, this is a good contact. That's not correct, because the attitude here is one of taking. So we have to always take the noble stance of an attitude of giving. So you don't have to think that every time I take, I'm doing something wrong. Not at all. Why is taking wrong? Not at all. Taking is part of our life. Taking, giving is part of our life. What Vedanta is cautioning us against is an attitude of taking, which means demanding, craving, longing, wanting, desiring.
Ji, thank you.
Anybody else has a question so far? If not, who will read the next paragraph? We're doing pretty well today. We're doing a lot of paragraphs. Who will read the next paragraph?
Ariyo, ma'am, I'll read.
Please go ahead, Ajay.
Charity does not mean indiscriminate dispensation of wealth. The world comprises two types of people. The vast majority is far from being charitable. The rest indulge in unintelligent charity. Indiscriminate charity has resulted in a lot of misery. It has bred respectable beggars in society. True charity emanates from proper judgment of the intellect, not something that oozes out of a weak emotion of the mind. In its purest form, charity has the distinction of benefiting the donee as well, not just the donor. In a nutshell, what's mentioned in this paragraph is that while you do give, you need to give under the governance of your intellect. It cannot be indiscriminate in nature and add to the chaos in the existing world. So when you give using your intellect, uh, it will actually end up benefiting a lot more people than you think, and it will give you a sense of satisfaction that you have gone and done service to society and humanity.
Very good. So now that we have all understood that being a giver is important, we should also understand, what does that giving really mean? What does it really mean to be charitable? Because many of us do what is known as indiscriminate charity. Indiscriminate charity, as Ajay says, not used your head really. Like many people think, oh, go and give them food. That, have you thought this thing through? Okay, today I gave them food. Am I worried about what happens to them tomorrow? Or that doesn't bother me? Today I gave food, I felt good, and that's fine. Now, there are certain circumstances, such as right now, where giving food may be the most important thing to do, because at the moment they really have no food. And but you have to think it through. Is that what is the best thing I can do? It's the same fishing example. Give a man a fish and he eats for a day. Teach the man fishing and he eats for a lifetime. He and his family can eat for a lifetime, right? So there's many beautiful ideas around charity, and some of them we have to learn carefully, because charity can breed a lot of beggary, a lot of misery in society. We do such indiscriminate charity that we actually do more harm, more damage than we do any benefit. We create this sort of licensed beggary, as it were. We, in our country, we have seen that, right? Um, we had this attitude, a sort of socialist attitude that said that we must give people regardless of what they do. Did that really help us? Wouldn't it be better to encourage people who were of service to the community? I don't mean that they are doing social work, but they're carpenters, they're plumbers, they're electricians, they're going about their normal lives. They are contributing to the society, right? Um, rather than just collect a whole bunch of people who want to do nothing and just take. That's what's happening in the US. One of the reasons why Donald Trump becomes famous in spite of everything else is because he says, no, we should stop doing this. And the people who have to bear the backlash of this indiscriminate charity that US has been doing in terms of social security and all that, they're all pro him. No, nothing he says changes that, because they are really irritated with the fact that all their hard-earned money is going to feed people who are making use of that system, making unjustified use of that system. So it is a very, it is something we need to think about. What service, if we were to do, would it be the best service? The greatest souls have decided that the greatest service we can do is the spreading of the knowledge of life and living, because that service will benefit the most number of people for the longest period of time. Imagine whatever we study the Gita, right? Or we study Vedanta. Imagine the person who wrote it, who transmitted it. 10,000 years people have been benefited by it. That society benefited, this society benefited. The amount of benefit that we can give by this subject, by the understanding of the knowledge, is there anything else that can give that kind of benefit? Over a long period of time to a large number of people. I mean, imagine if the whole world knew Vedanta. Where would we be as humanity? Where would we be? Firstly, there would be no starving soul. And secondly, we would all be achieving our top potential. So, what is the highest, what is the best form of service we can do is something we have to think for ourselves. What we do usually is somebody comes and gives us a sob story, and then we feel very sorry, and then we give money. And that may or may not be the most sensible way of doing this thing. May or may not. It's not saying it's not. It's saying it may or may not be the most sensible way of doing it. So you really have to think it through. Your charity, how many people is it benefiting? What is the benefit? How urgent or how long term are you trying to do? Now, then there are some cases, of course, where imagine a person has a heart attack. So he's having a heart attack in front of you. Then you can't say, no, I think teaching Vedanta is the highest form of service. Not at that moment. At that moment, please take that chap to the hospital. Don't give him a lecture on Vedanta. So you have to use your head actually as to what is the service that is most required of me at what point. Generally speaking, it is the knowledge of Vedanta. If everybody had, they will be happy, they will be prosperous, and the whole community will rise up. It will be Ram Rajya again. Captain Pratap Mehta,
Yeah.
you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Like during a normal days, we keep getting calls from various charitable organizations. We Care, Cry, and Goonj, so many. And when when I refuse to them, I really don't know how genuine they are, or by refusing, I'm doing a disservice, or I should distribute my wealth with these guys. They are all phone call marketing, a kind of a marketing call.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we never really know, but we can analyze as much as we can. Like suppose you feel for a particular cause of cry or goonj, whatever, children or the helping the poor villagers or whatever. So choose any institution which according to you is working for a cause that you would like to participate in, and then look personally into that institution and its things, and then decide whether yes, this is something I want to go with. We will never it's not possible that we will always have a perfect decision. Some of our calls will be correct, some of our calls will be false. That's just part of the deal, but we have to do our homework. That's the important thing, that I actually thought it through and then I decided to do it.
Usually I feel pretty bad on refusing because most of these organizations are not known to me. And it's like a feeling of guilt. Why did I refuse to them? How do I deal with a situation like that?
If in your income, whatever your income is or whatever your wealth is, have a certain portion allocated. Is your part of your yearly budget or whatever, saying this is what I use for charitable purposes. So you've put a cap on how much you can afford to do this. And then you choose one or two or three, whatever institutions you want, or people you want, or whatever you want, and say, okay, this is what I'm doing. And stay within that daira unless you find some, really important, urgent, sudden need. Like, for instance, now COVID is on. So maybe you say, oh no, I should maybe give to the Prime Minister's Fund or whatever I want to do. Or just, spend something on the people living outside on our streets, whatever you want to do. So there's an extraordinary circumstance in which you put some budget for that. But you've thought this thing through. You have to begin with what you can afford. You can't begin with, oh, I'll give all my wealth away. No, begin with what you afford. Why do you begin with what you afford? Because if you give all your wealth away, then you will go with a begging bowl to somebody to look after you. So what kind of giving was that? That then converts to taking. So you think what you can afford and what is the best deployment of these funds. So if I were you, I would do something for long term and something for short term. Like something that will give long term benefit to a large number of people, but you'll see no immediate result. And then something for immediately people are suffering, so what can you do for them? So like that, you make up your own sort of story of what you'd like to do. It means you've applied your head on it and done what according to you was right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else has anything to say? So what did we learn about charity today? Charity can take many forms. It can be material, it can be physical, it can be emotional, intellectual, or it can be giving of the self. Whatever form of service we do is what that attitude of service is what gives us the contentment and the bliss of life. Those people who have lived that kind of life feel helpless to ask for anything. But the only caution here is that we should do discriminate charity. That means think before you do it. Don't impulsively jump into it and cause misery to yourself and to others. I hope that's okay. So we will continue next time. If you have any questions, think about what we have studied. These are important ideas. And if you think about them and if you have any questions, we'll take it up next time. Hari Om.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hari Om Janki ji.
Janki
Hari Om
ji.
Janki ji.
Thank you, Janki.
Hari Om Janki ji.
Thank you, Janki ji.
Thank you.